Hello, I believe I'm up and going. Welcome to my sewing room this Sunday morning. I hope you're having a good day and a good weekend. I was kind of thinking about what do I want to sew this morning? What do I want to use my sewing time? I only have about 30 minutes today. Fortunately, even though I am an office worker, I do have to actually work today. We have a all hands on deck weekend going on right now, and so this little window of time is my sewing time today, and then I go plug into work, which is super sad. But at least I get to de-stress a bit before I head into an all hands on deck type morning. Got to work all day yesterday too, so fun times in IT. So I really wish I had a cool project right now. I wish I had something really neat I was working on, but I'm kind of between projects. I finished the mini Marcel, and actually what I'm doing, I should have brought the one I just made down, but I'm making masks for my daughter for school. She starts school on Monday, and she is in an area where masks are required. So, and they're all day masks, so she'll only get to wear these once. I hope they can stay clean for a full day. At the thought of a room full of 6 and 7-year-olds runny noses and all wearing masks all day is, yeah, there's different forms of sanitation that will be not happening as a result of that. But, we got to do what we got to do right now. Um, so she needs a bunch more masks. She really only had one. We've really just been trying to stay home as much as possible. And so we only had her go out a little bit. She only had one mask. And then I finished another one using the Sweet Red Poppy 3D mask pattern. And I had her try it because the other one was just your standard quilting with the 3 little pleats on it. And so I had her try those on and see what's better. And as soon as it's pretty, she says it's fine. So I have a little bit of trouble gauging whether it's comfortable, whether it works, how it's going to be all day. I'm a little worried the one I made is going to be tight, but it was made out of this fabric. This is actually what I've cut out to make myself one of these. And as you can tell, it's butterflies and hearts, and it's pink and purple, and so it works no matter what. We're going to have to work on that as she goes. First, functional is clothing should be first functional and then aesthetic. But, she's 6. She likes pink. It's all fine. Okay, so that is my boring sewing. So instead of really focusing on that, I thought maybe while we do this, because I've got several masks I need to make. My husband needs a couple more masks. Like really, I made each of us one mask. I did make and donate a few masks, but honestly, it was not not my thing. I'm not one of those people like, well, I only cranked out 400 masks. Nope, not me. Didn't do it. I did make some. I did donate some because I felt like that was the responsible thing to do, but it was not an act of joy for me. And so I only made each of us one, and again, we just haven't been going out much. So it's time now. The world is in a weird place where we're starting to try to live normal. I don't even know what that is anymore. And we just need more masks. So I have gotten the standard 3-pleat mask. The pattern I use I got from Made Every Day, and I liked all the information she shared on that. If you remember when all this started, there was a lot of questions about what to do with masks, how to make masks, should we do them, we all are aware of how that conflicting season went. And Made Every Day, and I believe her name is Dana. I'll double check. I'm so sorry if her name isn't Dana, but I will get all that information linked in the video after this goes live. And she went through and did a lot of research on really what was going on and what's helpful for masks and stuff. So I appreciated all her effort that she put into that, and she gave a really nice, simple, straightforward mask pattern really early on and things. I think she's got maybe even a couple more now, but so that is my standard one that I've been doing. I did go part of a sewing group that donated some masks, and they did the shaped ones, the kind of, you know what I'm talking about, I think, the shaped ones, and those were fine. I found those kind of fiddly to make. They were with bias tapes on the edges, so like they were fine. I just really didn't. I found those way too fiddly to make. And so this 3D mask one is actually even simpler than the pleated mask. It's pretty straightforward. Maybe I'll cut one out, and I've got I can make one pretty quick, I think. So I've got the pretty fabric. I don't have enough of this fabric to cut 2 layers, so I'll do a layer of white on the inside, and I'll cut that out, and maybe I'll sew that here. I found it pretty quick to sew. There's a little folding step that took me way too long to figure out. I finally found the Sweet Red Poppy has 2 videos. One of them is far more helpful than the other. So find the helpful video where she kind of goes through it a little more slowly. The fast one, I was like, what did she do? I can't even see what's happening. So that one is pretty quick to make, and Maddie said it fit pretty well. Like I said, I'm going to make one for me and just kind of see how it fits. And then I found, just the other day, I found a pattern for a pleated mask one that looks as quick and easy to make as the 3D one, and it looks like it might wear pretty easily as well. So that one is one I'm going to work on too. I don't know if I'll get to that one today or not, because I have to watch a YouTube video for that one, so I don't think I'll have time to figure it all out, and they show you the measurements and stuff, so I have to draft a little pattern for it and try it. So I don't know if I'm gonna do that right now. We'll see how the morning goes. Like I said, this is my kind of de-stress before work time. My 6-year-old is kind of cranky with me today because I did have to work all day, and again, I'm not choosing to work. I mean, you are and you aren't, of course. If I said, hey, I really am unable to work today, I'm sure my boss would have been flexible like that, but it's a crazy situation. We're trying to get some work done. We've got a long weekend of work, and sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So Maddie's cranky with me that I worked all day yesterday, and then I have to log back in today, and she's mad that I'm down here instead of with her. But my husband and I talked about it, and working mom guilt, it's for real, guys. It is for real, because is this 30 minutes of de-stress time that's gonna help me go into this afternoon with a good attitude and then be ready to be with my family wholeheartedly this evening? Like, carving that out and being able to tell my 6-year-old, hey, I know you are stressed that mommy isn't where you want mommy to be right now, but this is important for mommy to get some alone time, some refresh time, so it's tough. It is tough, and I maybe I should have spent more time in this 30 minutes with her. It's a tough choice, but I do know that I'm going to have a long afternoon potentially, and I would rather be in a mental state where after a long time of work in the evening, I can cuddle up with my family and we can do movies, we can just chill out, and the day will be good. So we all make choices, and I don't know. You never know, right? So that's where I'm at. I'm here to just recharge and kind of see what I want to do. So first thing I'm going to do is cut my white lining for my mask so that I can sew one for me and kind of try it on. Let's get this flipped over to work and chat there. I think you can all see me now. So we're going to get this cut out as well. So I was kind of digging through all my stash. Most of my masks have been made with stash stuff that's either left over from projects or whatever, just quilting stuff I bought and then didn't use, or the stuff. And so some of this is nicer fabric than others, and I found that I had several white fabrics in my stash, but when you're making masks, it's really important to have a high quality, what am I trying to say? Like a cotton, the weave of the cotton needs to be pretty tight for it to be effective. Loose weave fabric doesn't really, it's not thick enough, dense enough to make a difference. So I've kind of been picking through some of my fabrics. I do have this white piece that I was kind of here, but this is the child size, I believe, not the adult size. There are several sizes in this pattern, so I am making the adult large size. I cut out, here's where I'm at in life. This, you can laugh at me. It's okay. I laugh at myself all the time. I'm getting the pattern here. So what I did, it was all on one page, and I printed it out and then realized that my husband was going to be in the large adult, or no, the extra large adult, and I was going to be in the large adult, and Maddie was going to be in the child. And I was like, I don't want to print all that. So this is what I did. I printed it, taped it, and then I cut out the child piece, which is the smallest. There was also I think like either a large child or preteen, I don't remember. There was at least one more size in here before the large. So I cut this out, and then I cut on the large adult line here, and then this is the extra large. So I can actually cut on it. It's kind of a pain, actually, but I didn't want to fiddle with it since I didn't know if I was going to use it. And I'm going to make one in each and we're going to try them on. And if we don't want any more of these, then I'm going to toss this and we're done. And if we do want more, I will actually make a better pattern. This is actually super fiddly to deal with and it's not a great idea. I don't recommend it. But when you're just trying stuff out, don't worry about it. Just try stuff out. That's kind of how things work in my world, generally. All right, so getting my iron set up and ready to go because this is pretty wrinkly fabric. I don't worry too much about minor wrinkles when I'm cutting. I will sometimes cut on wrinkled fabric, but when it gets so wrinkled that it's going to impact the actual width, you know, like if this is up too high and I cut like this when I iron it when I'm done, it will actually flatten out and be too wide. It will widen it a bit. So I do enough ironing to make sure that the pattern piece will be accurate when I cut it. If it's just tiny aesthetic wrinkles, I don't always worry about it, but in this case, I will. Okay, so that means I need to flip over. Let's see. There it is. Now you can kind of see my ironing station. I'm sitting in my chair today. I've been standing for all the other ones, but today I'm like, no, I don't want to stand up. So I got my chair over here, I've got my ironing board here, and you can kind of see what's in it. Okay, cool. And we're going to see if I can do this sitting down today, because I want to. And it's my sewing room, guys, and it's my cup of tea. I'm a tea drinker, for anyone watching. This is just regular old Lipton black tea. I'm not fancy most days. I do enjoy an occasional fancy tea. And I do have lots of fancy teas in my kitchen. But, yeah, today is just a black tea kind of day. So, alright, nothing too much here. I'm not worried about even getting all the wrinkles out. I just want to get this to the point where it isn't distorted when I cut it. Alright. And this is big enough for one for my husband. This little fabric scrap I've got here. So I'm going to cut this one layer, because this is for me to try on and see if I like it. See, this is already getting pretty wonky. Just even though I only cut this out, I've only cut one other thing out. Let's work a chat. Hello. Cool. And so I'm just going to start by using pattern weights here. I've lined up this edge of the pattern, so this I won't cut here because that piece of the pattern is already on a cut edge. And this edge is not, this pattern piece is not, or something, is not square. So I'm not going to do that here on this edge. I'm going to have to cut. Where are my pattern weights? So we'll just put these around, show you kind of how I'm maintaining some level of accuracy. All my pattern weights here. Like I said, this pattern's already a little distorted just from it being a teeny tiny piece of paper. Oh well. It is kind of something sitting funny. I'm not sure what. Oh, I think the tape area there is actually kind of coming apart, so I think that's why it's twisting. Okay. I have done enough troubleshooting to be happy that I know this is going to be close enough. Alright, I have my big rotary cutter and I have my little one. I have got to order blades for this little one, or something, find a place to get little blades. I thought I had some. I have looked all over my sewing room and I can't find them, and this blade has been used for so many projects. It is beyond everything. So if you're, I'm going to use my big blade here, even though that little blade would get in these corners probably a little easier. And that's only kind of perception, because when you're dealing with scissors, there's a blade, right? And that blade is larger and smaller. So as you need to get into a smaller space or dealing with curves or whatever, the size of the blades of your shears can make a difference. When you're dealing with rotary cutters, however, the amount of space that is actually cutting on your fabric is the same regardless of the diameter of the blade. The diameter of the blade simply gives you different types of control over your rotary cutter. So a small rotary cutter, and there's a small, I turned the safety on, no worries. There's a small difference here, like there's going to be a little bit more of your blade touching the mat, a tiny bit more, tiny bit more. It's pretty small. And that can really give a difference on like tight curves, like necklines and stuff when you're cutting out a pattern. But in the grand scheme of things, it's more about control with a rotary cutter than it is about actual millimeters of blade touching the fabric. So when I need control, I use the little one. And when I need speed, I use the bigger one. And in both cases, I use better rotary cutters because I find that I can get a much better overall result than I can with scissors. But that is a personal preference statement, because I know so many people who are like, I can't use that. I'm like, that's okay. Then don't. You're fine to not use it. There is no rules about what you have to cut with. I just love, oh, that was a slice inward. I love the result. I love the clean cut. And if I'm dealing with like a shifty fabric that's maybe a lightweight knit or, you know, a rayon or something that kind of slips a little bit, yeah, there's nothing better than a rotary cutter. I cannot go back to cutting any kind of a shifty fabric with scissors. It's too much. But I also blend them. So like for now, because rotary cutters really struggle to get into these little corners sometimes, because you have to slice. Sometimes it's just really easy to slice over, and I'm trying not to disintegrate my pattern quite yet. So then I just, you know, come back in with these a little bit and cut these corners. And then I get the best of both worlds, I feel like. When I need scissors, I use scissors. When I need a rotary cutter, I use a rotary cutter. So I get a nice smooth line with my rotary cutter and nice accuracy with these scissors. And I probably could have done a little bit better getting into these corners with the rotary cutter. These are kind of sloppy, but whatevs. Ta-da! Wow, I missed that one entirely. Cool. Okay. And some people don't like it for this very reason. It's hard to tell on the camera. Let's see if I can get this in. But there is a little tiny thread of fabric holding this because my rotary cutter didn't quite cut through it. And that is probably one of the bigger complaints I've seen against them. But the reason that happens, okay, now I lifted it up all wonky, let me just do this. The reason it does that is either because your blade had a nick or your board had a nick. And basically that thread kind of went in between that space and it didn't cut. It wasn't between the blade. It wasn't getting pressure. If it's the blade that's nicked, you need to get a new blade. I find, however, my board is pretty well loved. I use it a lot, and I use this spot right here the most because it's right, you know, where I'm cutting, and so my board is not in great shape. And ooh, there's a little fly bothering me. There's not much you can do about that, honestly. There's some people that talk about rehydrating your board. I actually had an incident where I ironed over my board. And it wasn't this board. It was, I have a second board over, like I have my big, this one's 24 by 36. And then I have a 12, what do I have, an 18, looks like an 18 by 24. And I put them next to each other because neither one's big enough to cut like a dress piece or a pants piece out on it alone, but then I put them next to each other and it is big enough. And that one, I accidentally got my iron too close to it. I thought I had enough layers. I had a little padding thing that I was doing some ironing on, and I thought it was enough that it wouldn't damage it, but it wasn't. And it distorted it. And I got it mostly out by flipping it over and kind of doing some other stuff. This one is my older one. And it has some really big nicks in it. I used this one for a long time. And when it got ironed, some of those nicks went away. So I've got a little bit of distortion along the edge from where the heat was, but it smoothed out a lot of those things. And people talk about rehydrating them. This is not a recommended technique. use it at your own risk. It could actually damage your board just as much as it could save it. So do what you want with that. But for that little one, it kind of helped. I was able to get some of the distortion out and then get some of the nicks out too. Anyway, I don't worry, like those kind of stuff. I've just kind of learned to very gently like move my pattern piece before I pick it up and find those little threads that are caught that get stuck in there and just trim them real quick, because again, that smooth edge is, for a project like this, scissors are fine. Scissors are fine. Just scissors. But for me, I love my rotary cutter. Also, I tend to trace patterns a lot with like a pencil type trace patterns, and I find that the skills used to trace a pattern accurately are actually very similar to the skills needed to use a rotary cutter, because it's freehand tracing essentially. Which is why I think a lot of people struggle with it, because it's a different part of the brain. Scissors are, I mean, it's still tracing with scissors, I think, but you line up the scissors in a line and then chunk. Whereas with a rotary cutter, you're just kind of freehand, you know. So it's a little bit of a different part of the brain, I believe. All right. Okay, step 1 is to sew here. I am at 11:22. I'm going to have to be a miracle sewer to get this done in time. But you know what, again, there's no goals of timeliness here. Just getting things sewed. Let's see if you can see better you can go see a little better with that one. Okay, so first I'm just going to go around the edges. This is a 3/8 inch seam allowance pattern, and I'm sitting. I don't know if I can do this. Here's my foot pedal. My feet can't reach the floor right now. Oh, here's a box. Here's my fabric stash box. Let's see if we can. This is going to be super awkward, guys. I love awkward. That's how I live. Here we go. Check that I am okay with all my settings. Here we go. Side 1 done. Let's do side 2. I am just pivoting at these corners. Here we are with, okay, we got a 3/8 inch on both sides. It's open on the end so I can turn it, so I will do that now. Actually, before I do that, I will trim here. This, I don't love 3/8 seam allowance. 1/4 inch to me, for one, I've done enough quilting to be really comfortable with a 1/4 inch, and of course garments are usually 5/8, although 1/2 inch is becoming pretty common now too, at least for some patterns. Anyway, 3/8 to me is kind of like 5/8. It's the worst of all the options, even though it seems like it gives you more flexibility. Either just go down to a 1/4 inch, although some people's machines struggle with a 1/4 inch, so I do understand that as well. If you don't have, some machines don't have the feed dogs as nicely positioned, I guess. I don't know. So some people kind of struggle with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I do understand that piece of it too. But to me, there's no benefit to 3/8 that you don't get from 1/4 inch. And then you have to, the seams can be a little bit bulkier. And for garment sewing, I do appreciate the 1/2 inch because there is a little bit of a fitting element. And to me, you either just need a tweak that you can fit within a 1/2 inch seam allowance, or it's a fitting adjustment and you're going to need like 1 inch to 2 inches. So for there, and that's why the 5/8 inch is on the garment patterns. It's actually because you can kind of fit it as you go. So I don't know. I just find seam allowance kind of annoying, to be honest. It's bulky and you kind of, I don't like that once the seam allowance is stitched, you sometimes then have to deal with the seam allowance and like cut it or trim it or whatever. And there's certain areas like clipping curves. You have to sew it and then clip it. You can't take a shortcut with that one. But just trimming off seam allowance, just make the seam allowance smaller to begin with and work on the accuracy of your sewing. For one, accurate fast sewing is just more fun. To me, that statement is very personal preference. But I just don't like to, I feel like there's steps that move my project forward to being complete, and then there's steps I do because something wasn't thought through very well, and I enjoy efficiency, and so that doesn't bring enjoyment to me. Okay, so there we go. There's that piece of it. Now on the pattern piece, for this one I can just use the child one because this purple line that I filled in is the child line, and then large adult and extra large adult, and it needs to be folded in and pressed. So that's what I need to do now, is line this up here, and then which I can't do very well because this is not the right size, but I can center it. The point is to center it and then fold this in to whatever it needs to be. I'm not so good at fiddly work. I'm always impressed with people that have really nice fine motor control, because I really feel like that's an area I just don't have as good of skill in. I'm kind of just clumpy. And that's okay. Clumpy people are... This little fly is very determined. Okay. Here is my wood, just double checking my fold. There, that's pretty good. Turn around and press this one. Oof, turn. I really want that button thing I saw. So I think I talked about this in another little video I did, but there's this little box you can get, and it's got a bunch of it's a square like this, and you just push it like this, and it has, you can set it up so that you just push a button and the scene will change on your live stream software. And I'm like, I want that. Not that reaching over and clicking is difficult, but so, here I'm getting it all lined up, and I've got it, and I'm trying to hold on to the pattern piece, and then I have to reach over and fiddle with the mouse. And I'm like, a button would be helpful, but it's not cheap. I'm pretty proud of the little technology. So again, cheap is a relative statement. Everyone has their own definition of what cheap means, but it is not cheap in my book, especially for a hobby that I just do because I like to do it. All right, where am I at? 11:29. When I say I have to go to work, to clarify, I have to walk up the stairs into the meeting room and log in on my work laptop and stop being on my personal laptop in the basement, because that's the world we live in now. So I don't have to drive to work or anything like that. Go upstairs and log in and deal with JavaScript instead of Fabric. All right, so here we go. Next step is, now what she does next is fold in these ends, and my elastic is behind me. Okay. Try not to burn my arm on the iron. Ooh, so I bought one of those little generic Facebook ads or Instagram ads, one of them got me. So I bought this little chunk of really soft elastic. I actually really like it. And then I bought these little nose pieces, of which I've used exactly none. I know there's getting that good fit around your nose is super important, but I just haven't taken the time to do that yet. So I might, when I do more of Maddie's, depending, like if there's a big outbreak or something, then yeah, we're gonna have to figure it out. So for her, what I did was I tied this in a loop. I've seen that on a couple different tutorials. Tied it in a loop. I put it like this in the thing and stitched it down so it was like this. And once it was sewed, I tied this in a loop. But for her, even my little 6-year-old, that was pretty tight. So I think for this one, for me, I will probably, I'll probably put in about this much of it. So what I'm going to do, how do I want to do this? Because what she had to do is fold over, and then she threaded it through in a loop. But my pieces are shorter than what she recommended to cut. And obviously they were pre-cut, so I can't undo that. So I think what I'm going to do is fold over, and still create a pocket. So I'll still create a casing. And then I'm going to slide this in as far as I want to and stitch it down there. And do the same on this side so I can get more length. And that way I can stitch it down here and then try it on, pin it and try it on. And if I need more length or less length or whatever, I can really get the fit before I stitch down this other end. So, and for my husband, I will just max this out because these are really pretty kind of short ones. This was pretty cheap. I didn't want to, you know, there's an elastic shortage there for a little bit, and then there's elastics of 5,000 types. So this one was a pretty cheap option to just try this type of elastic out. But I've already found, oh goodness, excuse me, there's little Nat is determined to say hello. All right, so I already have a place where I can buy it not pre-cut, so it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be longer lengths, and as I go, I'll work on that. But all right, well, it is now 11:32. I do have to go upstairs, get some food, and go work. Woohoo! I'd rather be sewing. Anyway, that's my sewing journey for today. So my next, I have to make these masks, and I will probably not stream the making of them. Although if I try a third pattern, I might do that one, and then I might do a comparison of the three. We'll kind of see if I have that much in me to do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to crank out some masks and get it done. So the next time I know for sure I'll be streaming will be later this week, and I'm going to do some sewing planning, which I'm excited about. I'm going to start talking about fall plans, and I'm going to try to be more intentional about planning my sewing. I've always been kind of just one that walked in the sewing room and went, well, what do I want to sew today? And that's fine. This is my hobby. If it isn't fun, I don't do it. So, but I also have kind of ended up with, I'll say I'm going to do this one, and then I don't. So I've got random fabric in my stash, and random patterns and stuff I've been meaning to get to for forever and haven't. So I want to approach it with intentionality, not because I got to get stuff done. No, not with that, but because I want to find intentional joy in the work and in really focusing on it. So yeah, at some point this week, I don't know when I'll be able to stream because I don't know what work is going to be like this week. It's going to be crazy. So subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications, and it will let you know the next time I go live. It probably will be a Tuesday or Wednesday. That's my best guess right now. Yeah, thanks for sewing with me, and wish me luck, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Happy sewing!